Bonjour tout le monde, sorry for the complete and utter lack of videos recently, but I just went back to college and I'm trying to sort all these Skype lessons out and everything's all just a bit hectic. But I've managed to salvage a few moments of spare time, so I thought I would respond to a request for me to cover the pronouns I and on. Now some people do find these rather confusing, so what I'm going to do is try to simplify everything as much as possible. But of course, if you don't understand it still, when you've watched the video, send me a message and I'll try to rephrase whatever it is I've said. And of course, there are other resources that might be able to provide you with a better explanation. So I and on are pronouns that always replace words, because essentially that's what a pronoun is, it replaces words. But I didn't put them in my pronouns video because they're kind of a little bit different to all other pronouns. So let's take a look at I. I replaces the preposition a. So you should know that some verbs are always followed by a. Let's take a look at aller à quelque part, to go to somewhere. Of course, we wouldn't say that in English, but aller in French is always followed by a. So I go to the cinema is je vais au cinéma. In this case, au is the masculine form of the word a. But what if we want to say I go there, or even simply I go? A lot of people would just say, well, it's je vais. But you can't leave a sentence like that. You can't just say je vais, because you're not acknowledging the fact that aller needs to be followed by a. And that's where I comes in. In this sentence, I goes before the verb. So I go or I go there is j'y vais. Okay? I always like to think of the I as an acknowledgement of the a. We're saying, look, we don't want to say I'm going to somewhere specifically, but we're acknowledging that the a needs to be there in some way, shape or form. Jouer can also be followed by a when we're talking about playing a sport. So I play basketball is je joue au basket, and the same thing applies. Whenever you ask people to say I play it, they'll quite often say je le joue. And this seems to make sense because I do it is je le fais. But in this case, jouer is always followed by a because we're talking about playing a sport. So we're not going to use the pronoun le, but I. J'y joue. Literally, I play to it. Okay, and this is a difficult concept to get your head around because we don't really have a similar thing in English. But go through a few examples, look at a few of the websites, and this will all become clear to you. So if you're happy with that, we can now move on to on, which basically does the same thing, but with the preposition de. So again, jouer is followed by de when we're talking about playing an instrument. So I play the piano is je joue du piano. If you ask someone how do you say I play it in regards to the instrument, they'll say je le joue. But this is wrong because we don't simply play an instrument, we play of an instrument, jouer d'un instrument. So we need to acknowledge the fact that the de exists, and so we use on, and it works in exactly the same way as the I. So I play it, as in I play the piano, is j'en joue. I've made a little document that you can download from the description with a few sentences that work in this way, so hopefully a little bit of practice will help you get the hang of it. Then of course I and on do have their own translations. For example, I, like we saw with the aller example, can mean there. And in this instance we can use it with verbs that aren't normally followed by a, like être. For example, if you want to say I am there, or even I am here, you can say j'y suis. Or he is not here, il n'y est pas. Likewise, en can mean some or any. So, avez-vous des pommes? Do you have any apples? Non, je n'en ai pas. No, I don't have any. And there's an example of both of those words being used without the prepositions that they normally replace. And in that sense, they have their own individual meanings. So that's it for this lesson. If you're still having any problems, I'll put some links in the description to some websites with good explanations for this. Not that I'm saying my explanation is rubbish, but if you need some clarity on it, there are alternative explanations around. But until next time, à bientôt.